Hey Cindy, how are you?
Um, where was I? Dadgummit. There we go. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you, Pastor Craig?
Doing great. Doing great. I'm gonna stay on audio today. Not because I don't want you to see me, but I'm usually the one that's on video. So I'm gonna stay on audio today and everything. We'll just do a conference call.
All right.
So Maxine, great to hear from you. Cindy, I see you're on. How are you, Cindy?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Andrew Hood from Australia. Andrew and Amy, are you on?
Hello.
What's up?
Morning.
Good afternoon.
Yay.
Good evening. No, I'm just kidding. Isaac, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, brother.
Fantastic. Good to see you. Lisa, how are you? Lisa Price. She's probably figuring out her volume. Derek, how are you? He's figuring out his volume. Sandra, how are you today, ma'am?
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Pastor. Doing well.
Good, 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 good. There's Derek.
Yeah, I'm on. Sorry, I had a mute on.
No worries. Lisa, you on too? Well, we can't hear Lisa yet, but that's okay. We'll get to her. Well, hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of our team meeting and stuff. So, we usually open up with wins, and so let's hear some wins. It could be wins as far as personal life. It could be wins as far as ministry, and who'd like to get us kicked off today? Any good wins?
Can you hear me, Craig?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we've got of course, we've got our big training coming up right before our launch here at Valley. So we're pumped to have Dr. Sandra coming out the beginning of August. That'll be a great weekend. So we just officially started promoting, because internally here at the church, we usually start promoting stuff like that a month out. And so this weekend I'm preaching here, and a lot of it will be focused on champs and ministering to special needs. And we get to announce that we hired an amazing director for our program here. So we're pumped with that.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Man.
It was that's a whole story. In fact, she's sitting here now because we just finished a meeting, and then she's got to head back to her job. And she actually works at an incredible therapy center here in town called Shine, which has speech therapy, occupational therapy, music therapy, feeding therapy, ABA, you name it, they provide it. It's kind of the one-stop hub, which is a rare commodity in California to have it all in one place. And Calvin goes there, our Calvin. And so that's how we met Alexis. And Alexis started to come to our services, because until we had champs, Cal couldn't come to church unless we had some support. And Alexis agreed to come work with him here as part of her hours. And through that, she asked if she could start attending the church, and we said, heck yeah, we would love to have you. Long story short, with the provision of God, obviously ordaining that, and we asked her to come on as our director to help us launch this program. So
is she right there?
Yeah, she's right here.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce her to everybody. And how are you doing, Alexis? Good to have you on.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So good to have you.
Yes,
and,
I'm super excited.
Thanks for being a part of Champions Club.
Yes, of course. I'm so excited. I'm super blessed to be a part of it.
Oh, that's so cool. So we'll look forward to hearing more from you. And that's a big deal. You all know when when a church can hire a director, that's a huge deal for each church. So man, Isaac, we celebrate with you and Alexis and Alexa, and really believe that your launch is going to be incredible. Sandy's going to set that off with the training, and man, that's you guys are going to launch really, really well. So we'll be praying for you guys as you launch and get going. Anybody else with some wins today, personal or ministry?
Hey, hi everybody, it's Lise. I have a good one. You ready?
Go.
We got accepted to do Night to Shine.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Yay.
So excited. So
Well, that'll be big in your community, right?
Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
our pastor's so excited about it. He just it was crazy excitement with him. So so that excites me even more. So yay.
Yay.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Now, I don't know if you all know this, but we're one of the providers for Night to Shine. So we're on Tim Tebow's foundation site, and so when somebody goes to a Night to Shine and they want to start something more, then we're one of the key ministries that they can contact to possibly do a special needs ministry in their church. So it's
Wow,
a great
that's-
relationship.
That's
And
good.
we're also on there for they featured us as really our model on there. So we've got our model that's on there. If anybody was wanting to look at a model type of rooms, different things like that, I think we're the only one that's on there for that. And we kind of Sarah sent them the full structure model that they've put on their website. So really cool with that partnership. But Lisa, that's amazing. We're so excited for you. And I know you're also getting ready for walk and roll and your Champions Walk and Roll. So that's exciting.
We got a full house lately.
Yeah.
We have adults who are volunteering now at the church. We have our Monday program, our social skills program. Y'all can pray for me because it's that season for me again.
It's ramping up.
Lisa, if you have any questions about Night to Shine, we posted it, so I'd be happy to help you.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Call me anytime.
I appreciate it.
Tell me, yeah.
I will be in touch about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
This is Derek. Yeah, so we have now had 2 families jump onto our launch team that we weren't expecting, people that we didn't even know. And they both are, they didn't even know our son had autism because it's people new out here. But they're both special needs teachers that have that their passion is they want to figure out special needs ministry. So it's really cool that God's sending us people that are going to help us move that along. Right now, we're definitely talking about how we're going to do inclusion from the time that we start the church. So we always have something going. But then just on top of that, just something really cool that happened this week. Me and Lisa both have just been feeling like God was speaking a word to us that, I'm going to give you what you believe for. So make sure you're asking me for what you really want. So we both just kind of looked at each other. We have a party coming up this coming weekend on Sunday that we were going to host at our house. And we both just kind of said, you know what, maybe we should host it somewhere else and just see what God will do. So I made a couple phone calls and ended up getting the museum in Sugar Land to let us use the venue for a crazy price. But we went from 13 people going to our event to, as of right now, like 200 people in the last 4 days are now saying they might be at our event on Sunday.
Wow.
So just really cool. I mean, God opens some amazing doors. So we're just believing that he's going to send us some people who are going to jump on our team Sunday night. I mean, obviously anybody who knows Facebook's events know that what clicks on there very rarely happens. But I mean, even if we got a percentage of them, I mean, it's going to be an amazing shot in the arm as we kind of get closer and closer to launch. So if y'all would be praying, that would be amazing.
If y'all don't know, Derek's launching a church. Derek, tell them what the name of the church is and just a little bit about real quick.
Yeah, so we're launching Purpose Church. So ultimately, we've spent the last year kind of out of church because we've been doing the groundwork to plant the new church. So we were at Life Point, our former church where we had champions for 10 years. We made the decision last year that it was time to do what God was calling us to do in our next step. So yeah, we've been kind of starting that process, and we have our first service on September 15th. So it's nice because we finally see the finish line. It's been a long year to get here, but we've got a really, really good core team that's come alongside of us. And now we're just believing that God's going to keep doing more and more as we get ready to launch.
Wow, that's fantastic. So cool, man. And those 2 families, that's amazing. And them wanting to help you launch. Great reports. These are good, really, man. Keep them going.
Yeah, really, really cool thing too. I'll say this and I won't say anything else, but the really cool thing is the reason that one of the families is committed is because it was actually our boys. And again, they didn't know we had son with autism, but when they came over and saw how good our boy was with their son, they didn't tell me before the meeting that he had autism also. So it was actually our kids that got them to commit because they said they've never had kids that played with their son that well. So,
wow. Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Amazing. All right. Well, keep it coming. Anybody else? Because I've got lots of wins, so you guys need to get in. Forehead.
Well, I'll go ahead and share.
Yeah.
Hi, team. It's good to talk to you. A couple of real exciting things. Yesterday, I did another training for Triumph Church, and they're opening. Well, they've opened a Champions Club. It's in Sugar Land, so it's not too far away. They opened in April, and they're more than doubled in size now. So they're looking at. They started with one room and wanting to expand, but their heart is just, every time I meet with pastors, the lead pastor, he's got it, man. He's like, we want these kids included. They have parking spots in the front of the church that are usually reserved for clergy. Those are all for their champions. They call them VIPs. So it was just so sweet to pull up and see that actually there were 5 parking spots with signage that said, these are for our families, and it's just real touching. So they're just excited about opportunities, and they're growing, and it's neat. The other thing, for August, things are really popping quite a bit for us here in Texas personally, and God's doing some really amazing things. When we go to Isaac's, we're going to do a whole session on mental health. And when you're looking at statistics, and I don't want to, dampen the day, but our champions between 2 and 10 times are more likely to be exposed to abuse, neglect, which creates in them trauma and PTSD. And then our parents, if you think about it, we're dealing a lot with PTSD. Because of, the uncertainty of what's happened when we take our kids places, and then if they're ill, what's going to happen now? They have an earache, and when do we go back to the doctor, and when are they going to get better? So, really, if you look at the stats, our families are really suffering from the trauma and how to deal with the trauma. And so we've dealt with some of that, a lot of that actually, in our family. So when we go to Isaac's this time, we have a new component on that God has really spoken to us. And for the first time, my husband is going to be joining me on stage and sharing about trauma and special needs child, and what a man particularly feels through that. A big, strong man who, wasn't prepared for any of it. So I think that God is going to honor the message, and I think that it's going to break a lot of, but the people are going to have breakthroughs, and I know people are going to have breakthroughs that haven't had them before, because God's going to go, and the message is going to be there, and especially dads, that are silent, and they just kind of suffer in silence, and they don't know what to do. And so I'm excited about it, and I know that God's in it, and it's a message whose time has come. It's for such a time as this, and we're going to another level, and we're really looking at how do we bring wholeness to our families and our champions, and part of that is that mental health piece. So we're excited.
Yeah, it's a huge area. I know at Lakewood we're attacking it, and going full board with that. And Sandy's going to be a catalyst for this. And through her family, with her brother and different things like that, nobody's walked it like they have. And I'm so excited that testimony, that message, and that training is going to come out. So I salute you, Sandy, and salute your willingness to share, and Rob's willingness to share, and just walking alongside that, training other people. Very cool. And I think that's so relevant to have that part of your training in coming up, because really, if you look at it, when it comes to mental health, it's probably double of what special needs is.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of special needs that have mental health issues. So you're really combining the two, plus all those that may not have autism or different types of special needs. They just have mental health issues.
Mhm.
And so it's a huge
So different.
thing that I want to encourage you. I want to encourage in all the churches that you're a part of. We're going very strong with it at Lakewood, and the training is going to be key. We're having this big first aid that NAMI does. We're having somebody come in coming up this fall. Then we've got Dr. Steve Rasevich doing a webinar, and we'll probably have Dr. Sandy do some stuff coming up in the future as well. But we've got to figure out overall in our churches how we can create environments, how we can be more sensitive, how we can be more accepting, whether it's over social media, whether it's even ministers speaking about it. And I'm really appreciative to Pastor Joel when I this last get center and she started and where before this is looked down upon, but these are people dealing with real issues, real anxiety, real depression, and we're just putting it out there in front of people and saying we're not going to we're not going to make them feel like they're not welcome and be looked down on, but we're going to open our arms widely to them. And two, we want to come alongside of them and provide ministry to them and help to them and training to our leaders. And we did a training the other day, and I think I shared this with some of you guys, but we were just going to open up to the care team. We thought 40 people would come. Over 215 people showed up because it was affecting them. It was affecting their families. It's affecting their lives. And we didn't even get it out to everybody. We think we're going to have maybe close to 1,000, 800 to 1,000 at this next training. And so we're getting our security, the law enforcement that work there, because when they deal with different people, they need to understand that there might be people that are just dealing with mental health, anxiety issues, different things like that. How do you approach them? How do you work with them? We've got our kids program that has a lot of kids coming in with PTSD, different issues. And then obviously you're going to have families that they're going to have dual diagnosis with mental health issues and autism or different things like that. So we can't be afraid of it. We've got to embrace it because these are beautiful people. They give so much to society and to the world. They work hard. They're brilliant. Many of them are brilliant, but the challenge is that they've had to balance this other half of their life that's tried to steal all that brilliance and try to steal all that life and try to steal what God wants to do within them. And but greater is he that is in us than he that's in the world. And when we come together and we really support those that are dealing with these different challenges, and when you talk about it, I've at different times had mild depression and dealt with some anxiety issues. I'm sure many of you that maybe are on the call right now, you've dealt with that at different times. And, I'm not going to be ashamed of that, and when you're going through stuff, it's time for us to speak out about it and say, hey, I'm one of those guys that have dealt with it at different times. And so I just applaud that, Sandy. I just think that will be a key element. I think you will be a leader in that in the future, when people really understand the journey of your overall family, from your brother and different ones, and just how you've overcome, how just the triumph of it all. in different things. Just beautiful. So, you know, I just can't applaud you more for taking that next step, you know, including your training. Just beautiful.
Well, and Pastor, I just want to say in front of everyone, you know, what people don't know is how you have been just a true friend to me. And Isaac, you just better fasten your seatbelt because it's really my coming out party. So, and it's not time for me to share my testimony right now, but maybe one day, team, either tune into Isaac's training somehow, or maybe we can kind of sit and have a cup of coffee. But, you know, something happened when I moved here and everything has shifted for us. And maybe it's just my age, and maybe it's just being here and understanding. I don't know how long I have, you know, here. And so it's like, okay, let's just sing the song. Let's just give God glory. And you guys have no idea what has gone on with me and the family. And so I'm done being quiet about how good God is and what he's brought us through. And Pastor, so thank you so much for just walking me through the year from hell. But, you know, sometimes we got to go through the fire so everyone can see that we're so well made. You know, we're so well done, you know.
Yeah.
And so it takes, you know, with resilience, and I'm going to stop on this. Resilience, it takes one person. It only takes one person that truly believes in you, and it becomes that individual that isn't a codependent, but says, hey, I'm going to walk through it with you as long as you keep walking. And even when you don't, okay, I'll carry you. So that's Jesus, and you need one more person, and that's all that you need to build resilience. So let's be that one person in the lives of people that God brings our way that have mental illness, that are depressed, that are anxious. They're scary. Man, bipolar people are scary, you know, but once you understand a little bit more, you know, you'll get it, and it's not so scary. So yeah, Isaac, you have no idea what's coming your way, but hey, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's Sandy, you and I have talked about this. It's time. Her story is powerful. It's going to blow people away. And she's right. You haven't heard the other half. But she had to come here, and we had to walk through this together. And you know, I challenged Sandy on it, because not in a challenging, confronting way, but in an encouraging and hopefully loving way, in saying, you know, people need to hear this. There's so many people dealing with these things, and you know, it wasn't. It's easy. You get almost in a bubble in this world you want to protect, but you don't realize how freeing it is when you begin to share your story, and the lives are transformed through that. And I believe there are going to be thousands of lives transformed from Sandy's story and other people's story that's going to rise up and share theirs in the future. And I remember back when I first started sharing Sam and I's story. Look, I mean, I didn't want to get in front of people and tell them my son was banging his head, you know, against the floor and scratching his face. And I mean, you don't want to tell the horror stories you're dealing with, but ultimately, if Sam and I wouldn't have agreed to share that story, we wouldn't be sitting on this call right now. We wouldn't see all the things that have come out of it. And this mental health piece is the second half. I think of where we're going to go with Champions, you know, in the future. It's definitely in the second half. So it's really exciting to see that, and really exciting to see people brave enough to take that step. And here's the thing: they've got to do it in their timing. You don't ever force somebody into this, but they've got to do it in their timing. But Sandy, Rob, and I, we all agree that God has spoken to them and it's time. And so I'm excited, and I know it's going to just, oh man, it's going to heal a lot of people. It's going to heal a lot of people. Very exciting. Well, hey, just keying off of that, does anybody else have a win before we go? But I just want to just kind of key off of that real quick if we can, if anybody else doesn't have a win.
I'll just say this real quick. We've got a lot of other churches joining us for this, and they've been asking for the very things that you guys have been hitting on. And it's crazy too, just the sovereignty of God. We've had a couple here at Valley that's been leading the class for years through the same group you're mentioning, Craig, which is the NAMI. And even in our bulletin this week, it's got one of these family classes listed, and it talks about the very things you mentioned. This class is for family members, partners, and friends of individuals living with major depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and the list goes on, obsessive compulsive. It lists that they have this group. So we're going to have all of those folks come as well. It opens up a whole nother category and kind of bridges the gap between these two groups. And I think it's exciting.
Oh man. Well, there's going to be a lot of tears of healing. I think that will come out of it, and I appreciate that. But get that on your all's radar. Even I know you got a lot with Champions Club, but get on your all's radar. And here's the thing, you don't have to do a ton of stuff. Just start with your, some of your leaders and start to look at some specialized training, because how you work with somebody with mental health issues, and if you have kids that are teens or adults that come in with mental health issues, it's different. There's different aspects than how you work with them with special needs. What I'm so excited about at Lakewood is we are going to just about have every major leader from every department that's going to be a part of this training, and they're going to come to an 8-hour training. And I mean, but all the ministries have bought into it, because they not only know there are not only people already in their ministry dealing with it, but they know, they understand how prevalent this is. And just to key off of that, Amy and was with me, and I might have shared this before, but I really feel like God's speaking to me and share it again with you guys. But when I was in Australia speaking at the ACC conference, I'd never really shared this within my message before. But when you're in that kind of conference, there's a lot of church planners there, and there's a lot of small churches, and when you're talking about special needs, when church planners and these smaller churches, most of them are that across America and across the world. They're not big churches like a lot of ours. They're like Derek's church that's just starting out, or have 100 people and everything. And I think in the church, many times we've given them the wrong idea about how to build church, especially for the future, in the sense of, and I mean this in the right way, but even at the conferences, you'll have the greatest churches and the greatest pastors get up there, and they're telling you about everything that they're doing, and they've got amazing worship, and they've got amazing leaders, and they've got amazing pastors and teachers and all that kind of stuff. But here's the reality of it: most churches aren't going to have worship like a Hope UC, or worship like a Plant Shakers, or worship like a Hillsong. They're never going to have that. It doesn't mean they don't strive for excellence, but that's what God has gifted that church to do. And I see so many churches that are starting out and they're trying to, they see these models and it's kind of like, well, I'm going to be that. And it's probably not going to be that. And then they see these great speakers and, you know, if you have great preaching and great music and a great service, that's how you draw people. And the challenge is for most of these churches, you know, they're not going to be, you know, Doyle Surratt or Joel Osteen or, you know, one of your pastors and stuff like that. They're not going to be that. And so they sit there and they're trying to do this model. I'm going to try to have great worship like them. I'm going to try to have great preaching. And it doesn't mean you don't strive for excellence. You do. It doesn't mean you don't even try it. But what I told them that day is I said, you know, some of you are possibly never going to be that. But I said, if you will find the 3 top needs in your community, the 3 things, and obviously salvation is always the key thing. So that's always got to be a part, winning people. But what are your 3 top needs? And I said, if you'll find 3 top needs and you'll begin to reach out to your community and begin to reach out to those who are facing those needs, I'm telling you, your church will grow. Sooner or later, your church will grow, because when you meet needs, it can't help but grow over a period of time. And you don't have to have the best worship, and you don't have to have the best speaking. I believe that God can grow a church that way. And I told them, I said, when Jesus walked the face of the earth, he didn't have a worship team. Now, he was a great speaker, but he didn't have a worship team. He didn't have a kids department. He didn't have a youth department. He didn't have anything like that. You know what Jesus did? He went around meeting needs, and the crowds begin to grow, and the crowds begin to follow. And I said, you're looking at some of the greatest needs in the history of the church right now, and it's not going to be a quick fix anymore. It's not going to be just you put on a great service and everybody's going to come. They're not going to come unless you begin to reach out to them, unless you begin to meet needs and provide something for them. And I said, how we do evangelism in the church in the next 30 years is going to be a lot different than how we've done it in the 30 years previous. And if we're not willing to get our hands dirty and we're not willing to dig down, then we're not going to reach a lot of people that need it the most. And I really believe that. And that's really what I wanted to share with you guys is that I believe one of our messages that we've got to get out there is not just about special needs, but how the church evangelizes, how the church reaches out to people, that it's not a quick fix. And if the church doesn't adjust, they're going to mix this whole cross section of people with mental health issues. You know, close to 60% will never come to church right now, where the church is currently. We know how many don't come based off of special needs. And then you can just go on down the line. And what I'm so proud of with your churches, I'm so proud of with you, and it is that you guys are a part of the solution. You're meeting those needs. You've got your pastors going, man, we're gonna get our hands dirty. We're gonna get in there with them, and we're gonna bring them in. And I think that is going to be critical for the church in the next 30 years, that if they don't shift what they're trying to do, because look, we can celebrate the mega churches and we can celebrate the big churches all we want and everything, but it's the churches of 100, it's the churches of 50, it's the churches of 200 that are struggling, and they're trying to model themselves after these churches, and maybe it's not what God's called them to be. But I do know this: God's called us all to be a light to people and win people to Christ, to go into all the world and preach the gospel. And the gospel couldn't be any stronger when you reach the least of these. That is the very heart of God. And so I believe we have to teach that. We have to walk that out, and we have to follow the example that Jesus set in growing the church. really grown the church. So that's what God had on my heart today to share with you all. But any thoughts on that?
No, I think you're right. I mean, this is Derek again. Obviously, this is like super applicable with me right now, but I haven't had this conversation with you. I think that's the thing. It's so easy to fall into the trap of trying to duplicate what you see somebody else being successful at and not just step back and say, God, what have you called me to do? But I know Jeremy Foster at Hope City, he came and spoke at a little meeting I was at, and he said, you don't know what God's going to call you to do until you actually start doing it. But if you're not willing to pastor 50 people for the rest of your life, then just make the decision right now you don't want to be a pastor. Because he's like, you never know what God's going to entrust you with. So he said, if 50 is too small, then just make the decision right now you're not going to be a pastor. Because he said, trust God wants you to be faithful for whatever he puts in your hand. And I think it's so true of the church in general right now. It seems more and more it's becoming more of a formula instead of saying, God, guide me to do exactly what you're calling me to do and let me be faithful to do what that thing is. So yeah, I think that's spot on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm in agreement. This is Mary.
Go ahead.
And I sent you a message, but I'm hearing it so many places that people are hearing the message of the heart of the caregiver, and they're going, this is what the church has forgotten how to do, is how to take care of each other. And what you're talking about, Pastor Craig, is exactly it. It's not growing the big church to the big level with the big numbers. And it's exactly what you said, Derek. If God's calling you to take care of, and shepherd a flock, that's just essential. It's you got to be able to care for the person hurting next to you in your church, and so
Yep.
I think you're spot on, Craig. I think you've seen a prophetic piece that is a huge part God has on his heart.
So good. Anybody else?
Well, I think, churches across America right now are declining, and I believe it's because of connectivity. And people need a sense of community. I'm reading this fascinating book by Ben Sass called Them, Why We Hate Each Other and What We Can Do About It. And I don't know if you've read it or heard about it, but it talks about the loneliness factor and how it's killing us. And a lot of people say they're depressed, but they're actually lonely. They don't have a connectivity in how our society has changed. But if the church has community and people feel a connectivity there and they have a place that they belong, whether they think they're depressed or lonely, and so many of our families, they're basically shut-ins. And if they have a place that they can come and feel loved, they'll continue to come. They'll tell their friends about it.
That's so true. And there are so many lonely people out there, and that connectivity is real. It's cool, Cindy. I actually had some friends right there from Los Alamitos. They came out. They it's way back from college, and now they have families, obviously, and stuff. And they watched Joel, and they came out. I guess they had some family here, and they came out to Houston. And I was giving them a tour, and these people are so raw. They're not going to church, but they're watching something on TV or online, and they're dealing with a lot of issues. And I was literally able to lead 4 of them to Christ. As a matter of fact,
Wow.
2 of them were boys. They're boys, and then he asked me to pray this prayer with all of them that day, and just giving them a tour. And what was great that I was able to do when you're talking about connectivity is I was able to say, I don't know if you know this, but my cousin has a church right there near where you live. And I was just explaining to them the church and everything that they have. And so I think they're going to come and visit you guys and come to your church. But it's so true. That's what people need. And we've got to help them connect, though. And I think people aren't just going to come. And I think that's where we've got to shift our thinking, is that we've got to begin to reach out to them, whatever that need is, if it's loneliness, if it's whatever it is, so that they can feel that community, that they can feel that love, that they can feel the power of Jesus, what he could do in their lives.
Yep. The power of Jesus is the key. First, you have to get in there, and then to be able to even share with them. So you have to make it relevant to their lives. And, just that sense of belonging is what everybody's looking for. And they don't know they're looking for Jesus. They'll want a sense of belonging in any way they can find it. So we just have to show them the church.
So true. Any other thoughts?
I love this discussion because it ties so well into Champs going forward as a whole, because a lot of the churches that we've met with or talked to, they think if they don't do like $100,000 and big rooms and the grandiose deal, they can't do it. We were sitting out in front of and you spoke it well, Craig. Not every church is going to be able to do that. Not every church is called to that, but they can minister to this population. They don't have to do it the same way that others do it. And the biggest, honestly, the crazy part, when we've toured people through now all of our churches in this region, the one that sticks out the most is the smallest club. Because people feel like, oh, I can do this. I can start this way. I can do this, we can make this happen. And it always blows my mind because we have everything now here close. We've got Father's House that spent $150,000. We're spending about $50,000. Liberty did about the same. Experience did about $1,000. And the ones that stick out are the cheaper clubs because the churches that come in, most can't do even $20,000. And
That's
so
right.
It's that same discussion of how do we make this thing relevant to our churches as well. Obviously, I love what you guys are saying about the people, but how are we going to get them here? It's like youth ministry used to be pizza and a Coke. You've got 100+ kids in your youth program. That was the hook. Champs has a hook. We're trying to reach a certain population and serve a certain population, but the hook doesn't have to be 100K. And so I think that communication to churches is so crucial, and them seeing that this can be done on the smallest of budget. It's not about the size of the room or the program or the budget. It's about the heart and the passion and the calling.
Right.
That's right. Absolutely.
I think people, are
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think, here's what I've been doing, Champions. I think the two most important elements that I have seen is that we are teaching Jesus to their children and for the parents. The parents come with such needs, as you know, and that they know they can text me and I will send that need out, and everybody's praying for them. And then when they drop their child off, we've been praying for you. How's it going? And I think those are the two most important elements. It just means everything to them.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of cool things, just bouncing off what Isaac said. So I've been working really hard with Flag House and even with our team, with Norma, one of our team members, Norma. And so we are working on, it's almost like a brochure. It's not going to be a brochure in paper form, but it's going to be a web page and stuff like that, where we're going to break down different size models, and we're going to visibly show it and then break down the items that could fit that. So a Champion's Cup for $1,000, a Champion's Cup for $2,500, and we're going to break down those models. So we're working on it. It's almost done, and that's going to really provide that avenue where, a lot of people are visual, and so they see the big Champions Club and they might do one of two things. Man, I want that. Or man, I can never do that. So now we're going to show them what's possible and that it works. I even think of Amy and Andrew, you guys might want to speak up on this, but they're in a big church, but they didn't start out with a big budget. And they start out with a very small budget to launch it. And a lot of the churches that they're starting to work with now are kind of in that same mode. And just share a little bit of that, Amy and Andrew, and how you didn't let it stop you that you didn't have a big budget, to launch that. And really how we communicate that with the other churches.
Yeah, we started, our budget to start Champions Club was $400, and we just had to get creative, and we obviously took what we could from, you know, the photos and everything from Lakewood, and just, you know, we found lots of things at a shop called Kmart, which is a bit like your Walmart, has a bit of everything. We got, you know, eBay became our best friend, and we just had to get creative, and then every couple of months we get a bit of a boost, and it's been great. It makes Champions Club look doable to a lot more churches.
And a lot of the churches that you're starting to work with right now, they don't have big budgets, so you're helping them walk through that, right?
Yep, so we've got a list together of some of the things that we purchased, and we're able to send that out, and people are grateful because they see obviously what Lakewood's doing, and they go, we can't do that, but we can do this. So that's awesome. And look, we've got one church that they only have $50 at the moment. So we've just encouraged them to get 4 buckets and, you know, have a sensory bucket, a movement room type bucket, and some colouring and stuff. And they said as soon as they're ready, they'll be able to put more into it. So I just think as long as, you know, we're just there to love these families and love these beautiful children. So we're all just doing what we can with what we have.
That's right.
You know, that's fantastic. I mean, even that thinking right there. And, you know, one of the things, if you ever want Dr. Sandy to do, she does great pieces on inclusion, especially if you don't have a lot of, you know, live equipment or different things like that. Inclusion overall, but also, you know, if you're in that place, there are different ways that you can move and work with the kids. And so she'll be a great resource if you need some ideas, just how to navigate that, figure it out, get a hold of her, and she'll be able to walk with some of you through that. So Amy and Andrew, any of you regional directors or national directors, you guys, she'll be a great resource to you if you need to just, you're coming to that point. How do I figure that out? How can I, if I've got $50, how do I start Champions Club? And how do I make that work until, you know, until I'm ready to take that next step? And so I think that's going to be an excellent resource. So the one thing I'll tell you with the $1,000 one, none of that's coming from Flag House. We're basically taking that model of, we're going to pick things from Walmart or Kmart and stuff like that people can go and pick, and then make them a part of that brochure like model. So it'll be very similar to what a lot of Champions Clubs or some of the Champions Clubs who started that way can do it. So that's exciting. I think we've had to break this down to fit them. So just really huge. So great discussion. Any other thought before I move on? All right. Well, we'll keep on going. We've got some right now, just to kind of give you an idea, just on vision a little bit right now. We've got at least 4 or 5 Champions Clubs that we're working on in Australia. We've got 2 from South Africa right now. We've got 2 starting in the works in Africa, 1 in Zambia, and we're just in the beginning stages. We're not even in the works really, but we're in the beginning stages. And then 1, I can't think of the name of it. It's like an island off of Africa, and I can't. It starts with an M, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyway, we've got
It's the
two
Seychelles,
from-
Pastor Craig.
No, it wasn't Seychelles. It's Marie. I don't know. It's something like that.
Mauritius?
What? Say it again.
Putty said Mauritius.
Yes, I think it's Mauritius. Yeah, it's about 4 hours flight from Johannesburg. So I'm going to South Africa. They're trying to get me to go and talk to the pastors. He's got 28 churches throughout there and other areas, and they're wanting to start a Champions Club. So I've got. I know we can start at the one church, but I'm not going to be able to meet with them on this trip. So we're going to try to start walking. We've got one from Switzerland, which is exciting. We got one in Jordan that we're really excited about. Just working on all the shipping to get the equipment there. We've got one where a whole team is going to Alaska, and man, that Champions Club, they are full on. They've already got their Facebook page up. There's a lady from Lakewood that her and her husband moved to Alaska, and Linda is one of the biggest go-getters you will ever see. She's the one. I don't know if you guys saw my page. She's the one that got that airline, Christian airline company, to fly all of them up there and to transport all the equipment up there. And she's just amazing. Norma's about to leave with that missions team to set the Champions Club. Sandy and I are going to go in October. I'll be speaking to launch it. She'll be training there as they launch on October 6th. So just some new. I mean, these are totally new territories with some amazing stories. But the last thing I want to talk about, I really want to hone into the subscriptions. And I know Cindy wasn't on the last phone call, and she just kind of picked up a couple things. But one thing with the subscription, so we've been working really hard on the training. The trains look really good. We're editing a lot of the training videos and the different things that we're going to have on. We're not calling them subscriptions anymore. We're calling them memberships. So there'll be a family membership and there will be a church membership. Now, these are subscription type of programs. It has nothing to do with you being a Champions Club. You don't have to pay for a membership to be a Champions Club. This is goods and services for churches, and then goods and services for parents. And so the training is going to be outstanding, and I think it's going to be fresh, weekly, and both for the parents. And the one I'm really excited for is kind of like what you were talking about, Cindy, is these parents are, we've all felt it. We've all seen them struggle so much. And for them to be in their home and for them to get encouragement every day, for them to get life skills trained for their kids, for them to get small groups and group type of counseling for them on different challenges that they're facing. And then everything from special webinars on IEP, how to work through an IEP that we're going to have Dr. Sandy do, and we're going to survey them. We're going to say, what do you want? What kind of training do you want as we go along on this journey? So I really want to encourage you. The church one is already up, so we're getting a great response from the churches that are signing up for the subscription. We're almost about anybody that goes to the church page, and this is a high amount. 8%, I think, are signing up if they go there. The average is about 4% when somebody goes to it, but 8 to 10% are signing up for the church subscription. But this parent subscription is going to be, or parent membership is going to be key for all of your parents. For it'll even take some load off of you as a leader, that we've got something coming through Champions Club that all they've got to do is go online and be a part of it. And it's at a very low price, price of a Netflix subscription. But if they sign up in between August and September, it'll be less than that. It'll be $9.99 for
Is that
per
okay?
month. What's that?
I have a couple questions about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry because I wasn't there last time. I hope I'm not redundant, but I want to know, when you sign up and you enter your credit card, does it automatically come out every month?
Yes.
Okay. And then another thing, I was wondering if, Sandy, you could do a training on how we can talk to the other teachers in the kids department about inclusion, or when it's time to encourage those teachers, and how best in regards to the language used to have a child come and check out Champions, because we are struggling with this in our church, where we have a lot of kids that should be in Champions. They may be even nonverbal, and the parents just are not ready to accept that their child is on the spectrum. And we know that as a church, we can't say that, but then how to address that, and how to come alongside of those families as they're in the kids program instead of Champions. I would love to have a training on that included in this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something
absolutely.
Share with our kids department.
Hi, so Cindy, let's you and I kind of flush it out a little bit.
Okay.
And then let's have a discussion back and forth, so I can make sure that I'm hitting I think I hear what you're saying, but let's talk about specifics.
Okay.
So we'll do the overall, and then we'll do some examples. That usually makes it a little easier. So we'll set up a time for us to kind of flesh it out. I would like that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Cindy.
as you guys know, our core training for any church, if they want to launch a special needs ministry, it's going to be in there. It's over 3 hours of training, and so our core training will be that base training, and it covers a lot of different areas. Then we dig down deeper. We like not issues, but things you're talking about right there, Cindy. Those
Yes.
are things that, and then how to use a curriculum, and just dealing with behaviors, all those different types of things. That's what we'll continue to dig down deeper. So we will, with the churches too, we'll do a survey, and we'd love to hear the feedback, just like Cindy gave right there on some different trainings coming up. But if you all can really push that on your Champions Facebook, any of your social media, when that goes up next week, it's going to go up next week, that platform, and it's going to be ran through a closed Facebook group. So it's going to be really easy for them to get on. They're not going to have to go to a website. They go to the initial, for the family, they go to the initial platform, and then it'll give them a password and hook them on to this closed Facebook group that will be for the parents. The church one will be on a platform, and so they just go to that platform. And what's great with you guys, any train you need, it's going to be on there. If we don't have it, we'll work on it and try to get that on there. And you can just hook your computer up to your projector, bring all your people in, and they can be trained right there where they're at. And so it's very exciting for me that, when you look at a parent in Nigeria who's struggling and she can go online and get help right where she's at, it's just, it's a game changer. This is a game changer what's happening. But we need everybody's support in getting that out to everybody. Did someone have a question?
I did, Craig, real quick. in regards to, we've had a few of the churches asking, are they able with the parent membership be able to buy in bulk some memberships for their parents? For example, like when we had launched at Liberty, as soon as the devotionals came out, we ordered like 25 of them and gave them to the core families that were coming regularly and just handed it off to them. So some of the churches are wanting to do that with this membership. And even in like a similar way as I liked how with the church one, there was the year long. That would be kind of neat if our churches, because we would be interested in doing that here at Valley too, for the families that start coming consistently, is saying, hey, if you want this parent membership, we'd be willing to buy it for you. But we need to be able to buy it in bulk. We wouldn't want to go on every person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would let me look at it. Let me find out on that because they have to individually get their own login and stuff like that. But our team may be able to do that. So, let me check on that, and I'll get back to you.
Cool.
Because
thanks.
we love to get in bulk, so that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So we'll work real hard.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? All right. Well, listen, it's been great having you all on today. I'm so appreciative of y'all. We're really excited about Your Extraordinary, and this book, this children's book, what we're excited about is it just hits so many different areas for families and kids, and whether you have typical kids or special needs. And if you guys want to get some in bulk to give out to your families, I know we're doing that for our Champions Club banquet, and then our children's ministry. They're giving away a book for Christmas to all their kids because if a typical kid reads it, they're going to be able to. It could be read for a typical kid. If a special needs parent, they're going to notice things in it, and it's the first time that Thomas Nelson has ever done a children's book that includes special needs. So it's really. I think it's God's really wanting to use this. And so any way that we can help you, that you would like to get that book in the hands of either your children's ministry, your families, or your special needs families, let us know, and we'll do our very best to get you the best price and be able to do that coming up. But big thing, thank you all for just sharing it, and thank you all for your support with that. And I also want to say, hey, get behind Mary with the Heart of the Caregiver. She just came out with her updated book, and we're just so proud of her. And so let's continue to get behind Mary, what she's doing with small groups. We're going to have those small groups on the parent subscription on an ongoing basis. So I want to encourage you to let them know there'll be small groups that they can go right to that Facebook page, and they'll be able to be a part of that as well and everything. So anyway, love you all. So grateful for you all. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Thank you for all you're doing. And we will talk to you all soon, and hopefully see you soon. But God bless you all. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. That's so cute.